Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the CIR files. I'm back again today and going to be talking a little bit about learning Japanese, which is an essential skill if you want to become a CIR on the JET program. But first I thought I'd let you know a little bit about what's going on with um, my getting ready to go to Japan. I recently got all of my paperwork in. So now I can finally go for my visa. They sent me the application yesterday. And so I just went out today and got some photos taken. And my visa will be my title. The reason that they're giving me the visa is that I will be a specialist in humanities slash international service, which is pretty fancy sounding if you ask me. But all right, so learning Japanese. This is definitely going to be this is the difference between a CIR and an ALT on the JET program, is that you have to know Japanese, and you have to know it well. I think they recommend somewhere around level 2 of the Japanese language placement test. And level 2 is probably, I'd say, bare minimum. Definitely. I mean, if you can do level 2 and you've passed that, then that's good. But they're going to want somebody who's really, really fluent. I mean, not extremely fluent. They're not looking for a professional translator. They could get that right in Japan if they needed it. But they do want someone who at least has, decent language skills. Reading's very important. You need to know a lot, basically all the general use kanji, all 2,000 or so. And I think that a good marker of whether your Japanese is good enough for being a CIR is whether or not you can read newspaper articles or just articles on websites, stuff like that. If you can read those with minimal problems, you can, if you have to, bust out the dictionary once or twice, that's okay. But as long as you can read them and go sentence by sentence and not have to stop every couple words to look things up, then you're probably all set. That too, you need to be able to speak. So if you have Japanese friends that you can talk to and just converse and never have to, at least not often have to switch back to English or rely on that as a crutch, then I think that's definitely a good standard to go by, and you should be pretty much all good to go for the Japanese portion of being a CIR. But for those of you who are still working on it and need some help getting going, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about that. I personally started learning Japanese in college. I took three semesters of Japanese my sophomore / junior year of college. I did not really learn very much in these classes at all. At the University of Maine, they don't really have real Japanese classes. It's more like something called critical languages. And in critical languages, as long as there's enough of an interest and a foreign exchange student or someone like that who's willing to teach the class, then they hold it, and you get 3 credits. But it's very wide open structure. It's pretty much up to you and the instructor how it works in those classes. But that being said, I didn't really learn very much. We mainly talked in English the whole time, just about Japan, and I mean I learned a little bit, but I'd say that really, unless if your school has proper Japanese classes, then that's definitely a better starting point. But for me, I found that self-study was really important, and along those lines, the best way to get started is, of course, learning the characters of the Japanese language, and for those, I used Remembering the Kanji and Remembering the Kana by James Heisig. He's basically the authority on these on this of Japanese reading and writing. Basically, the books have you learn the characters, both the kanji and kana, hiragana and katakana, by using what he calls mnemonics, which is basically a fancy word for using your imagination to recall the meaning or the pronunciation of a word based on a memory that you assign to that character. And it may sound kind of weird, but it works exceptionally well. I've so far learned about 2,500 characters using his book. I'm about halfway through. Actually, I have it right here. Remembering the Kanji number 3. I'm working my way through that. I already did the first one, which has the first book has all the regular Joyo Kanji, which you'll need. So definitely do that first, and then if you want, you can move on to number 3, which has an additional 1,000 kanji you can learn. Number 2 is how to read them, but I found it's better to just learn in context, and I'll get to that in a moment. Um, so yeah, I did those books, remembering the kanji, remembering the kana, and then I went and studied abroad. And definitely my study abroad experience is what really set me off. I typically, I find for myself that um, I think I started learning Japanese when I went abroad. Before that, it didn't really count. It was just, fluff. um, so they put me in the most basic Japanese class. I thought that I might have been good enough for at least one level up higher, but they said no, no, you're Japanese. You're you're going back to a basic. So that's what I did. I went down to basic, started right from square one. Konnichiwa, watashi wa Joe desu, America Jin desu, all that kind of stuff. Um, but it was a really, really, really good, solid foundation taking those classes because over there, and I'm sure this is the case for most Japanese classes you take outside of America, is that they will be fully in Japanese, 100%. Even for me, starting out at level nothing, knowing just how to say hello and all that, they started out in full Japanese, and that's really the kind of mentality you have to have, is that you can't ever stop. You got to keep going with the Japanese. Just immersing yourself in it is extremely, extremely important throughout, all levels, all stages of learning it. So after those 2 semesters I studied abroad, I had a really, really good foundation in grammar. So basically what I'm saying is that if you have a chance to study abroad, definitely do it. If you want to learn language, like going to Japan, definitely go to Japan if you have the chance. Because it's more than just the classes too. I mean, Japan's there, so you can go out, make friends, get involved, go out into the community, do things, travel, meet people. There's just so many opportunities to use Japanese every single day and really immerse yourself and live like a Japanese person would, and they know Japanese, and that's how they know it. They use it every second of every day in their daily life. So I came back from studying abroad, and then I continued my Japanese study by doing something called All Japanese All the Time, or AJAT. And if you're watching this video, you probably have heard of this method. It's one of the more popular ones on the internet. Basically, it's not really a method per se, but kind of a philosophy or a way to go about learning Japanese, which essentially is, if you can tell by the title, All Japanese All the Time, just pure immersing yourself every second of every day, every chance you get, everything in Japanese. Which means, taking all your music on your computer and getting rid of the English stuff and putting just Japanese music, changing your operating systems to Japanese, getting Japanese manga and books, using only Japanese websites, having Japanese radio, podcasts, etc., streaming 24/7 in the background, anime or movies or any type of video, YouTube, always having that playing. So it's pretty much, it is definitely a lifestyle change to take on this method, but I found that it's extremely, extremely effective because, like I said before, immersion is the most important thing. And learning a language, I remember Katsumoto, he's the guy who does it. I remember he said that we learn language not in order to become exposed to it, but we learn language because we are exposed to it. And that's definitely a very important mindset, I think, to have, is that you gotta just get in there and get dirty with it, even if you don't understand right at the beginning. I mean, of course you're not gonna understand, but you just gotta keep with it, and eventually it will start to make sense more quickly than you'd imagine, actually. And another tenet of All Japanese All the Time is sentence mining, where you go either in books or websites or anything that you're reading, and just pull sentences out of it that have words or grammar, etc., that you don't understand, and put them into a flashcard program like Anki, which is a really popular flashcard program, and SRS, as they're called, spaced repetition system, with Japanese language learners. I'll put a link to an article I wrote on my blog about sentence mining, so you can see more about it there. Alright, I think that is going to wrap it up for today. So I hope you're able to take something out of this if you're aiming to learn some Japanese and become a CIR. So good luck to everybody in their Japanese language studies. I'll see ya.